Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. Welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. It's sun shining today in Scotland. We're meant to have it for a whole week, so the shorts were on. Shorts, I've got a motto, sun's out, shorts out, and I don't apologise for my legs. I don't care. They hold me up and that's it. But tonight we are joined again by this lovely lady. My hand is there actually somewhere. There it's there. Debbie Ison, who you remember she's been on, I don't know, this is about your fourth time or something in her pot.
Something like that, third or fourth. I lose track of things.
You do, you lose track, do you? As soon as you lose track of days and time. And I don't know, I forgot that tomorrow's April Fool's Day as well.
It is, yes, I noticed that. I'm a little bit apprehensive. I'm not sure what my children might have in store for me when I get up in the morning.
Well, you need to check at the top of doors for the buckets of water or something like that, buckets of paint and stuff.
Last year they had an ice lolly that was made that they told me was apple juice. I could smell it was actually vinegar, but I played along with it and I tasted it and they found that hilarious.
Yeah, but sometimes even though you know the gag, you still need to kind of play along for the kids' sake because you don't want to make them feel like a failure.
Absolutely, do you know what I mean? No harm.
But our wee one's 9, so I don't know if she's dreamt up anything or whatever. But well, it's only up to lunchtime anyway, so we're quite lucky because she goes in the breakfast club at 8:30 and we don't see her again till 3 o'clock. So, we're quite lucky that way. But it's good to have you back, Debbie.
It's nice to see you.
Thanks for it. It's nice to see you as well. You're looking a bit white, actually. Usually I'm the one that looks white.
I'm always pale. I think if I'd been like a Victorian or an Elizabethan, I'd be fine. But I don't ever tan.
You don't take a tan?
No, just stay pale like a ghost.
Better waste of time going abroad then, isn't it?
It is. I'd probably just end up red like a tomato, to be honest.
I used to know people that would go abroad and they came back, like the colour of that phone case.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't matter how long they sat out in the sun, their body just refused to go brown.
Yeah, that's me.
Is that you?
Yeah, I've accepted that. I didn't like it when I was at secondary school so much, but now I'm an adult, I don't really care.
You just use the fake tan, see that paint on stuff that you get, the tube.
But I can't be bothered, to be honest. Like, if people will either accept me as I am or they won't, that's their problem, not mine. So I'm just happy being me. I haven't got the time or the energy to look after myself to that extent.
See, we're fine up here because we're Scottish. We're designed to be white.
Uh-huh.
We're not meant to be brown. It's when you get into, I used to see all the time in Glasgow, maybe the middle of winter, and you see these young lassies walking about and they're pure brown.
Uh-huh.
And you just don't fit in, hen. You're from Glasgow, you can tell that's fake, because everybody else around you is pure white and you're this brown, a Bornville chocolate bar walking down a Gyle Street kind of thing. Just sticks out a mile. But anyway, enough about that. So tonight, folks, we're going to be talking 2 subjects, maybe more, who knows. First up is, in our opinion or whatever, do spirits have the ability to manipulate? That's a posh word for me, manipulate. I was going to say muck about me, but we'll use manipulate.
Well done.
Manipulate electronic devices with cameras, microphones, whatever it might be, light switches, whatever. Do they have the ability to do it? So I'm going to let Debbie go first, see what she thinks about it.
Well, you know what I'm like? I always like to see it from both perspectives. So I've had lots of experiences where I believe spiritual phenomena has impacted electronic devices, and some people that are skeptical may argue the other side, but I think things that I've noticed, so for example, if I've been doing spirit release work, so anybody that hasn't watched this before, part of my role as a therapist is I sometimes work with paranormal phenomenon. And
I forgot to say what you do. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm a therapist. I do all sorts of different things, from the very normal and standard to the very obscure. So spirit release therapy is where people believe they've got an entity attached to them, a deceased loved one, a spirit, and I communicate directly with that spirit, normally through the person's voice. And there's been some really interesting things that have happened as I've been doing that over the years. So one of the things I frequently notice is if I was working with a client remotely over Zoom, what would happen is when that spirit started to come through, there would be a lot of delays, a lot of time lags, lots of distortions with the sound. And then as soon as that spirit would be released and go, the technology would become normal again. And if that had just happened once or twice, you'd just think, you know what, the internet's not very stable. But I went through a spell of several months where it happened consistently. So that was really interesting. I've had situations where I've had clients and this has been happening within the therapy room. And as we've been interacting with the spirit, lights have started flashing on and off. And also I've recorded lots of the sessions. And I went through a phase a while ago as I was recording these sessions that there was a lot of interference. So when there was the alleged spirit speaking, the sound would break up or there would be no audible sound. There was one that I particularly noted. It was actually one of my students that I was working with. And we decided to record the session. So we mic'd her up. And when she was speaking, the sound quality came out beautiful and clear. When the alleged entity was talking through her, we could see, you know how the recording does like the peaks and troughs of the sound?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was all there on the screen. But when we listened back, when the entity was speaking, there was no audible sound there until the entity had been released and then the sound came back. So something interesting happened there. And I sent it to a couple of people I know that work in sound. They couldn't explain what had happened. So I think I've had experiences of these things happening when there's been alleged spirits around in my professional capacity.
See, we've Peter, I think that must be your other half.
It is. Hello, Pete.
He's watching. There's wee Eileen in as well. Evening, Doc. Phantom Seekers Paranormal. It's something obviously we've done a lot of investigations, and there's been a couple of times that stuff's happened with the camera that we just can't explain. I mean, one example is there's a place near us. You probably heard me talk about it called Caldwell. Right. That's a big estate in East Renfrewshire, and we investigated there for about 2 months. This was about 2.5, 3 years ago, something like that. But basically, it's a massive big estate, and there's abandoned buildings all over it. But there's at the top end of the estate, there's an old manor. The original manor house is there. Okay. And that dates back to 1721, 1722. The date's disputed when it was actually finished. But it's derelict now. There's no the basement's intact, and the central staircase is quite intact. But the rest of the building, there's no roof, no floors, anything like that. Right. The first night we investigated there, we were concentrating on the central stairwell, which is in pretty good condition. And with a locked off camera sitting in the corner, there was about 80s there, but with a locked off camera sitting in the corner, and nobody was near it, nobody touched it. And lucky enough, I was recording on my phone as well. And with quite a bit of activity that night, after a few minutes. So the next day, we went to check the camera, and the camera was off. So, your initial thought is, I forgot to turn it on, sort of thing. But I knew it turned off. So the next day, I was going over the footage that was on the camera, and it turned off after about 7.5 or 8 minutes. Which validated the fact that the camera was running. Yeah. And there was about 3/4 of a battery in it. But then I started to think, well, it was after about 10 minutes. Problems with commenting. Hope you can see. I saw your first comment. You said, "Hi guys, though." So then I thought, well, it was after that time that we started to get activity. Yeah. After the camera went off, and we picked up quite a wee bit. Caldwell was one of these places that always kind of delivered for us. So I thought, none of us touched the camera. You know, and on my phone where I was filming, you can clearly see the tripod sitting in the corner. And you can see that nobody's near it.
Interesting.
So I started to wonder, did whoever was there that night, spirit-wise, turn that off?
Oh, maybe. That's interesting.
Before they decided to, you know, get in touch with us, basically. I know a lot of people might say, oh, it's bollocks, you know, and it's coincidental and what have you, but just, I've spoken to a lot of people whose cameras, no doubt Eileen said it as well, they're just turned off for no reason.
Yeah. And I mean, some people could argue it's electrical faults, but then have they played up at other times? Some people could argue it's maybe changes in temperature that are doing something to the battery that's turning it off. Perhaps some people could argue things like there's infrasound or electromagnetic fields or something impacting the technology. But then I don't know. I like to think that there is something in this, that there are spirits out there and that they are influencing the technology.
I mean, my opinion is, I say this is just my opinion, but I've seen many a time, spirits still get the capacity to learn. You know, as time goes on, you know, whether it be electronic, they're still aware of what's going on round about them. And it might sound daft, but I'm really thinking that if a spirit watches enough, you know, investigations and that, and because who's to say they don't just stand beside you and watch what you're doing? You know, if you're setting up a camera or whatever, who's to say they don't stand and watch you and take it in? What you're actually doing, and they're able to pick it up. Happens fairly often. Cameras just go off, batteries. That's the other good mention that as well. Eileen as well, thanks, though. The batteries draining, but just the camera thing, we just couldn't explain it. It's the same as another weird one. This is about the weirdest one we've ever had. Is we did the Ivy House down near Warrington, with Charlie and Rox and some other people, and with two locked off cameras down the stairs, one in each. There must have been old sitting rooms or something, and everybody else was up the stairs. I went down the stairs and put a fresh battery in one of the cameras, and then went back up the stairs. And it was about 10 minutes later, everybody decided, right, we're going back down the stairs. Went out of that room, the camera was off.
Interesting.
And everybody was accounted for. But then, a few minutes later, the camera came on again.
Interesting. That's fascinating, isn't it, that it came back up? Because you could understand and explain it turning off, perhaps, but then to turn back on again, that's more interesting. And
I've spoke to many people, a lot of people who deal with, you know, in the film industry and sort of deal with cameras on a daily basis, and they say that's not possible. We can't explain. I said, well, that's what happened, and there was about a dozen witnesses, and the battery was, you know, it was nearly a full battery because I'd replaced it about 10 minutes prior to us going back down the stairs. There's our lovely Laura. She's late, but however, we will excuse that one. Sorry, I was doing research for tomorrow. Lovely to see you both. Lovely to see you as well, dear. I'll tell you about Laura's thing at the end of the show.
That sounds exciting.
Keep us in suspense. You know what I'm saying? That was my suspenseful face here. Can't see because my specs, but there was that. But it was just really, really weird. How can a camera turn off and then turn back on again when nobody's touching it?
Yeah, really interesting, isn't it? And I suppose then other people would argue, well, how can spirit do that if they don't have a physical body? So actually, what are they doing? How are they doing that? Yeah, fascinating stuff.
So I started to think, well, did say, I mean, I say it was 10 minutes. It wasn't far off 10 minutes. Laura and Sarah were there. Did something happen in that room, in that space of time, that maybe spirit didn't want us to see?
Yeah.
It might sound daft. It might sound, whoa, you know, Twilight Zone stuff. But, you know, did spirit think, well, I'm going to turn this off because I don't want them seeing this, and then turn it back on again?
Quite possibly. That would make sense, wouldn't it? And I suppose I suppose that comes back to as well when I've had those experiences with spirit release sessions. Is it those things haven't wanted to be recorded, and so they've messed with the sound, or is it just a coincidence? I don't think it is personally. Not that I'm ever going to know.
I don't think it's coincidence. Because it happens too many times. I mean, there's always it's happened to her. Laura Zero Verify. It's happened to us numerous times. Every team I've spoke to, we've been over. It's happened to them at one point or another.
I mean, I suppose some people could argue: is it you? Is it your energies? Because you may be in a heightened state that perhaps you feel more alert, more aware, more fearful, more on guard, whatever it is, and it's actually your frequency or something about your energy that's influencing or disrupting it. But I don't know. Can that happen? I'm sure it probably can, but maybe it's a mix of all of it.
It's just it kind of blows your mind at times, That sounds kind of American, doesn't it? Blows your mind at times. My telly and radio switch off and on spontaneously almost daily, you see.
Wow.
How can you explain brand new batteries and a camera that drain after? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that is a very, very common thing. It's happened to us, no doubt as you will, Debbie, numerous times.
Yes. And I tend to have technology doing weird blips on me a lot of the time as well, particularly if I'm interacting with something paranormal or it's topic of conversation. Strange things do tend to happen. It's interesting.
The battery drainage, it's happened to us so many times. And when we used to use video cameras before we just use our phones. But it was always on the video camera. Now, we had 3-4 cameras, so you could say, well, maybe one was faulty, possibly two, maybe faulty, and we had about a dozen different batteries that I always charged before we were going out. And again, you could say maybe one or two faulty batteries. Yeah. Fair enough, But as Laura says, and Eileen says as well, the battery just drains. I mean, we did Greyfriars one night and we only had 2 batteries, at the time. We only had 1 camera. And the battery life was meant to be something like an hour and a half, something like that. Yeah. So I thought, well, that's going to give us a good, maybe 2.5, 3 hours, They lasted about 15 minutes each.
Yeah.
If even that, and just totally went. So that was a bugger. No battery, and it would have took forever to charge them back up in the car. And it just zapped even my phone. I mean, my phone was at 56%. I thought, well, I can still use my phone. Even the battery in my phone, just gone.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because if it's over multiple devices, then something's going on there. You can't just blame it being a device that's at fault or a specific battery. That's interesting.
I mean, as Laura said, brand new batteries, fully charged, and they just disappear. Yeah. So, is it? I really do think that spirit, somebody just does not want to be filmed.
Yeah. Or maybe it takes them that much energy. Maybe they need an energy source to communicate is the other side of things. So perhaps something's trying to get through, but it needs to harness energy from its environment around it to be able to make some sort of communication. And maybe it will drain batteries because it's just take it from where it can find it.
The battery drainage, possibly could be spirit that has to get, feed for somewhere. So the battery drainage, but I mean, the turning off of cameras, I think that's just so that they can't be filmed. Some people might call me a loony. I mean, Sarah and I done Sherwood Forest 3 years back with GSI. It was a Halloween thing they were filming. And so we've been doing the Sherwood Forest and we broke off into groups. Yeah. So we were with Ralph. Ralph's one of the founders and about 4 or 5 other people. And so we set up a camera on a tripod and Sarah was sitting in a seat one side, I was on the other side, and the whole thing, we started doing our stuff basically, and the tripod just went over. Gosh. Mind that be? And I know I didn't bump it. Sarah was sitting down, but the tripod just was pushed over. I thought, well, is that somebody here that's trying to tell us something that I don't want you filming me, or, you know? It seems that things happen off camera just seconds after you stop filming. That's another good point. They say, right, they stop filming. Now I'll do something, move something, or whatever. I just find it fascinating. And as I said before, I think we've still got the capacity to learn.
Absolutely. Why would they not? I suppose if we're a consciousness or a spirit, then why would we not keep learning and evolving?
And so who's to say that there isn't some guy or some lady standing beside you watching what you're doing with the buttons? It could just be as simple as that, you know.
They might just be having a laugh thinking, do you know what, this will be really fun. This will really wind them up, or this will scupper their plans. And it might just be for their entertainment. I suppose if you're sort of hanging around somewhere for hundreds of years, there might not be a lot to do.
Well, that's it. It's funny you say that. Just batteries don't last as long in the cold. When there are spirits around, people often report feeling cold. Maybe there's it could be a connection with the battery drainage there. Sam walks a lot. We've got her on coming in on Thursday. Are you late, Sam? I mean, energies just don't disappear. Something taps in and harnesses it. But I mean, as you say, Debbie, maybe they're just having a laugh. Who's to say, you know?
To be honest, if I was a spirit and I was stuck around, I'd need something to do to entertain myself.
What is it? I mean, the thing with the Ivy House where the camera went off and then back on, the camera in the other room, everything is energy. Maybe they're using artificial source to save their own. So they're stealing our energy, basically. You know what I mean? Hello, Eileen. So in the Ivy House, with the locked-off camera in the other room, we had positioned that so it was pointing towards a fireplace, and I think it was a K2 meter cup of the fireplace. Everybody was up the stairs. Again, there was nobody in that room, and we had a light that was screwed onto the top of the camera.
Yeah.
Now, I have got the capture somewhere on the computer. I'll try to see if I'll be able to find it for me, and I will send it to you. The light moves, but just before the light moves, you hear what I can only describe as footsteps coming into the room.
Oh, interesting.
But it's like wood on wood.
Okay.
You know, it's like, you know the old kind of wooden soles and heels you used to get?
Yeah.
And you can hear them coming in. Then the light moves, but the thing is, the camera does not move.
Wow.
Even though the camera's attached to it.
That's incredible.
And you hear what we can only describe as a little girl's giggle.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bit creepy.
And then the footsteps, if they're walking away. So it's as if there's a little girl came into the room. I will find it. Sarah will be able to find it for me, and I will send it to you.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to see that.
It's as if this wee girl comes into the room and I don't messes about, has a wee laugh to herself, then goes back out again.
Wow.
And so I sort of think, well, how can she make the light move but no make the camera move? Because the two of them are, you know, one's screwed into the other.
Absolutely, yeah. So how can that work?
But the light definitely moves. I'm sorry, my brains were tomorrow night, but whole love and low Sam walks a lot. Get the wife to look it up, Scott. The light thing. It was really, really weird. And so that's also what put me onto tonight's subject about was this wee girl able to manipulate just the light?
Yeah. I don't have an answer to that. I think that's really incredible.
You know, I've showed it to several people, and several people have said you've got three different captures there. You've got the footsteps, you've got the light moving, and you've got the laugh.
Yeah.
And everybody that night
could be sort of, dismissed, but having those three different things, it makes it more credible, doesn't it?
It does. Well, in my opinion as well, it does, because everybody that night had trainers on their boots. It was all rubber soles, you know.
Yeah.
But you could tell the difference with it was like wood on wood. when I pass, I'm going to so much fun messing with cameras. I'll probably say, Bill, I've spoken to a lot of you with that as well, Debbie. When you pass out, you start thinking, right, who can I wind up?
I'd have to do that for a little bit. I'd want to go to the light eventually, but it might be quite fun just to go around and have a bit of a laugh first, make a few people jump.
But you say go to the light eventually. What kind of time scale? Because obviously spirit, we don't think spirit's aware of time. So how long would you know you'd been there?
Well, I suppose you wouldn't, because you probably don't have an awareness of time, or you might not. So probably just until I got bored. I'd probably do it for a little bit and think, oh, the novelty's worn off now. I'll go to the light and find something else to do.
I don't think I'd get bored because it's there's that many people.
I suppose that's true, but it might get a bit frustrating if you were trying to sort of wind up people and lots of them were just either not noticing you or just rationalising it and dismissing you. I'd get really irritated with that. I'd maybe go from being a happy ghost to being a grumpy ghost after a while.
Well, are we talking demonic here?
No.
Don't say grumpy ghost. That's because you're doing the demonic road. Then remember, Debbie, that's where the demons start
to go down that road. No.
I think as well you need to mention the light that you caught in Dalquaharn. Oh, aye, that was a weird one as well. Dalquaharn, it's a big stately home, but it's the same as Caldwell. It's got a good basement in it, but there's no other floors in it. And it was actually built by the same guy that built Caldwell. But we were there one night. It's in the middle of nowhere, and there's a group of us there. Charlie and Rox were there as well. And there's a massive big kind of courtyard. You stand in front of the building. It's a massive courtyard, and it's pitch black. So I was just taking some photographs of the building, for a TikTok or whatever. Yeah. And it was later on, after I was looking at the photographs, we noticed on the second floor window there was a light.
Oh, and could anyone have been in there?
No, there's no floors.
Wow, so that's amazing, isn't it? And it couldn't have reflected from somewhere else.
It's like two up, but there's no floors.
Wow, that's really cool.
But I sent it to several different people and sent it to Charlie and Rox. They were there. Says, see if there'd been a light in that way, even though there's no floors. If there'd been some kind of light, we would all have noticed it.
Wow. Because
it was pitch black and there was... Yeah. So we just could not explain, where did this light come from?
That's fascinating.
So was this spirit's energy creating a light? Does that make sense?
Well, people say they see orbs, don't they? And sometimes flashes of energy when spirit come in. So maybe it was a spirit producing some sort of light.
We've caught what I don't know the photograph anymore. It was a long time. We've caught one. I'm cautious of saying an orb because there's that much debate about orbs,
Yeah.
You'd soon escalate things, Debbie. Patience is not one of your many strengths.
That is true.
I that's hubby having a wee rip at you there.
That's okay. It's accurate. It's fair. Patience isn't one of my strengths.
I think I'm all right. Patience, but I don't know. Am I all right? Do I have a lot of patience?
Depends what the circumstances.
It depends on the circumstances.
I just think the problem with me is my brain goes faster than the physical world around me can react, and that's really annoying because things don't manifest as quickly as I'd like them to.
I get what you mean, patience. I can't even spell the word well, so I relate. I don't have patience for... there's no doubt you're the same. No doubt everyone else is the same. There's certain things in this life that wind me up. It's when you get, like, say, somebody with a big trolley full, like the old scenario, big trolley full of messages and you've got a loaf, something like that, Or somebody's paying for their messages, they're shopping, and they're paying for it in coins. Or one that really gets me, not when it comes to me, boys, I think I get, not at all, do you never get in my nerves, apart from when you sing. It's not the best singer, but we're not going down that road. What annoys me is is when you get people when you get into a petrol station, right, and you've got the two pumps, and somebody's parked at the first pump, right, and the pump beyond them's empty. There's nobody there. But these people seem to take for. We were in the petrol station a couple of days ago, and there was a woman parked in front. Now, this isn't a sexist comment. She came out and she went over to the car, talked to the person, and then she went back in, and then she came back out again. Talked to the woman, talked to whoever was in the car. Then went back in the garage, and I'm like, "What the are you doing? You can't drive away." You know,
see, these things just don't bother me. I'm quite chilled out with these things. I think, oh, maybe like the universe is helping me, because like maybe I'm not meant to be somewhere at a certain amount of time, or if I'm stood in a queue, perhaps it's giving me an opportunity to have a nice conversation with somebody. So those sorts of things don't bother me. It's more when I've got an idea in my head that I want something to happen and it doesn't happen as fast as I want.
Oh, like when you wake up on a Saturday morning and you think of a project to renovate the house and hubby doesn't move as quick as you want him to.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah. You know, that old joke, you know, why do women wake up on a Saturday morning and think of an idea and it has to be done effing now, basically, you know.
It has to be done yesterday. Why wait?
I've been there, serious with that sometimes as well, and it's the old scenario when and again, this isn't the sexist, you know, it's getting off of paranormal, but however, our shows usually do. It's when women turn around and say, I decorated my hall and it looks really nice. And the hubby's sitting there, who decorated it? Oh, you painted it, but it was my idea. You tell her I decorated my house and stuff like that. When it's the man's done all the work, the woman's done the designing.
It's not like that in our house. I decide what's happening, and then I get a paintbrush and I get to work, and then I'll run it by Pete after I've already started, and I come across a problem. I just get on with it.
Or you run it by the hubby after you've started it, and it's too late.
Yeah.
By the way, I decided to repaint the bathroom pink and purple. Oh, it's too late. It's done now, you know. People that don't put trolleys away tidily, car park, shed things. That can be annoying. You just abandon them anywhere. I've seen wallpaper peel at the sound of... That's Laura's other half, by the way.
Aww.
It's not saying a lot for her singing. She's great in every other way. And I suppose, you know, after a couple of shandies, singing is okay, you know. That's rubbish, Mr. You don't know the energy that goes into thinking. That's rubbish, Mr. Matheson. You don't know the energy that goes into thinking things. Oh, I tell you, she's talking about I decorated my house, can I? But we're getting way off topic. You know. I hate shows that stay on topic for the full length. I say we had Paul on last night, and I lost count of many different things we spoke about. You know, and I know who wears it. Exactly, my man. I decide when I'm doing the dishes.
Aye, in your dreams, sunshine.
I decide when I'm doing the hoovering. No, I'll tell you what room I'm hoovering first, you know. Laura thinks so much she has to take a nap in the afternoon. But I decide, am I going to wash the cups first, or am I going to do the laundry? You know, I know.
Well done for those important decision-making skills there.
Well, you have to, because you have to time your washing to do your dishes and stuff. You know what I mean? Go you. That's Laura talking to Sarah, because also you can hear in the background. But no, I decide if I'm going to dust first or vacuum. I mean,
excellent.
I'm the boss in here when Sarah's at her mum's.
That sounds like a great way of working things.
That is. I rule this, but I am the kind of the castle when I'm in myself.
Amazing. It's good that you've got that time and space to do that. And then when the real boss comes home, that you know your place.
Aye, okay. Whatever. So to get back on topic, maybe.
Yes.
You know, if that's all right with you, Debbie.
That's fine by me.
Since you wear the trousers in your house.
Absolutely.
You know. I think Spirit does have the ability to manipulate cameras, etc., to suit herself.
Yeah.
Scott is a proper husband, looks good, and I don't have a penny. I do my housework in shorts and t-shirt with the heating on. Yeah. Maybe this continues in the spirit world.
What, arguing with your spouse is who's in charge?
Well, that's what I don't know. I don't exactly know what I mean. Does the wife wear the trousers in the spirit world, or is he talking about the manipulating technology? I think I'll go with the woman wears the trousers.
Yeah, me too.
But I mean, actually, if that is the case, if the woman does wear trousers in the spirit world, and it was that one, woman wears the trousers. If a woman does wear the trousers in the spirit world and we don't agree, let's face it, we can just bugger off. We can go wherever we want.
That's true. But then can you? Because obviously some people think spirit are confined to specific locations. So that would be pretty miserable if you were stuck in one place and you had to have that for all eternity.
Imagine it was a bathroom or something like that.
Oh, that wouldn't be nice.
You're stuck in somebody's bathroom for eternity. It's just...
That's not something anybody wants.
No. I'm round to using you every day, Mr. Matheson, the things that... Go on then, though. I dare say something. Yeah. There you go. I've thrown down the gauntlet. I dare you to say so. We're getting way off topic here, folks, but anybody who watches your shows will know that it does usually happen. I'm quite house proud. I do the housework and stuff when I'm told to. No, you know what annoys me about women? Why chicken legs? I don't have to... See what I was saying earlier on, Debbie, about shorts out, suns out, I wear shorts and stuff like that. They hold up my backside. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. Why is it? And no doubt Peter and Craig can relate to this, that women wait until you sit down comfy and then they ask you, oh, could you get me a can of juice? Or could you make me a cup of tea? Or I've left, can you go and get me that? They wait till you're all comfy and settled in front of the telly, then can you get me a can of Coke? Like that. Why wait? Why don't wait till... Why don't they tell you when your backside's approaching the couch so you can easily get back up again? Before you make that contact. Do you do that?
I don't think I do very often. Obviously, Pete is listening tonight and he might argue that. I think I do it sometimes, but I think it's because I'm in my own little world a lot of the time, or I'm busy doing something else. And then all of a sudden I realise it when all of a sudden I notice his presence next to me. So maybe it's that. I'm not really sure.
You think so? Are we going to have a debate here with you and your hubby? Because I'll go and get a fresh cup of coffee so I can watch. A domestic, he's going to have a domestic or something. So I'll go and top up my coffee. No,
that won't happen. It'll be fine.
That's crap. That's crap. I like to see a good domestic, That's easy. We put up with you guys. We are the princesses, deserve to be treated such. And in Sarah's case, she's the queen. Crawling much tonight? I wouldn't dream of arguing. I like to watch a good argument, and no doubt you do it yourself if you're out shopping or whatever, in the town centre, and you see a couple arguing. You suddenly develop an interest in a bus stop or something like that, and, or a shop window. Because you try to hear this argument that's going on kind of thing, I know I do. Or you become the slowest walker in Glasgow,
I give you
permission. He's not going to argue with you unless you say he can. A man after my own heart. But anyway, shall we carry on with what we came here for?
I think we should, yes.
Because this is going to turn into a domestic or something, turn into a riot. Where were we? I've lost track.
So we've spoken about obviously technology being interfered with by spirits, and I think we were going to have another topic of conversation, weren't we? About yes. So would you like to introduce that?
So our second, so this is summarise. I think we think that spirit can interfere with technology. You can turn off your camera. Maybe if it doesn't want to be seen or it's going to do something, as I said, the Ivy house, I was off for about 10 minutes, did something happen in that 10-minute gap, and then they decide to turn it on. But I think they do have the capacity to learn and can fiddle about. I really said another word there, begin with, can fiddle about. It's a good save with your bits and bobs. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? But can fiddle about with your camera or whatever when it chooses to do so. So the other subject we're going to look at tonight is, are our loved ones or friends, it doesn't necessarily mean their loved ones, in spirit, are they around us all the time, watching, looking after us, or do they only come when we've got some kind of issue, something's going on, whether it's financial or emotional, whatever, something's happening. Because we have spoken about before, spirits go to the light and they can come back and forward, as they please. So do you think that they do go to the light, but they know when something's up?
I think so. I mean, I don't think I'd like the thought of people, no matter how much I love them, sort of being with me and watching me all the time, just because I'm quite a private person, really. But I do like the thought that spirit come back if they need help me or support me in some way at those times where perhaps I'm in distress or need comfort or need a message. And I think I've had different experiences of that in the past. I know my friend Karen, who passed away a few years ago, she will often come in when I need a bit of reassurance or a bit of like cheerleading. And it was really interesting years ago when my granddad was dying. I knew he was going to die that night because I felt a spirit come in and give me a hug. And I wasn't familiar with that spirit, but I could see them in my mind and I could sense them. And then a year or two later, when I was looking through old family photos, I saw this lady, she was in the other side of the family, because that was my paternal grandfather. But this was a lady that was like my great grandma on the maternal side. And I'd never met her. But actually, that was the lady that came through that night, almost to give me comfort, to let me know that my granddad was passing away. So that was really interesting.
Yeah. Eileen says, I think my dad pops in and out. I smell his pipe. Also, if I'm stressed or anxious, he seems to be around. I mean, I've never had personal. I think I've had one. I think I've told you this with my dad's dog. My dad passed, wee Chihuahua. Did I tell you about that? I think in my mind that was my dad telling the dog, look, I'm not here anymore. Scott's going to look after you, whatever kind of thing. But it's with the old scenario. I've said before many a show, in life, we all, at one point or another, we all have a problem, whether it's financial, whatever, and we can't see any way out of it. And then at the last minute, the midnight hour, whatever you want to call it, you get a solution.
Absolutely.
You think of something. You could be racking your brains for a week or two over this. Say for instance, money. Maybe a bill's due, whatever, and you're racking your brains for a week or two. How I cannot do this? There's no, and then all of a sudden you're lying and you think, I can do it that way.
Yeah.
So
that's
is
really
that spirit coming in at the sort of deadline and giving you that wee nudge? To say, right, you can do this.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, as I say, you could be worried about it for a week or two. You think, well, why have I not thought of that before? You've looked at every scenario, every avenue, and every avenue's blocked, and then all of a sudden, bang, the problem solved.
Yeah. I mean, some people might say it's just your subconscious mind processing things in the background and all of a sudden it comes up with a different solution. But I think there's been countless times where something's popped into my mind or something's happened in my external environment that was beyond my control. And all of a sudden those issues have just resolved themselves. And I like to think that that is somebody out there supporting me, whether I think it's like one of my deceased relatives or friends that have passed away, or whether I think of it being like a guardian angel or a guide or somebody. I find it quite comforting, the thought that there perhaps are those messages and also that help and support out there, that I've got sort of this group of people that are cheerleading me on and that are wanting to help me. That's quite nice.
It is a nice way to think. Crisis meditation seems to be a thing. I think it's the same thing. It's the same thing as I was meaning, Eileen. I look hell of a red for something. I look like a big strawberry, don't I? For some reason. I just noticed that. I just, not that I look at myself that often, you know, I bet people in the past, vain is not the word. Do you know what I mean? They're constantly looking. And I used to work beside a guy in a shopping centre years and years ago and done security, and we used to go up and down the mall kind of thing. And every window he passed, he would be looking in the window, with Agin by the window, looking at himself, you know, love me do kind of thing. Total bit of useless information there, folks, you know. I think our energy signature must fluctuate and change when we are feeling different emotions, almost like sending a spiritual SOS, so different spirits will recognise those frequencies and act accordingly, whether they come to support or cheer or nudge. I get what Peter's meaning. So we subconsciously give out this kind of, as he puts it, SOS kind of thing.
Which I think is true, and I think sometimes people will actually say, won't they, that in those moments where they are in a crisis or just they're struggling, they will actually say, will somebody help me, or will God help me, or I need some help, or they'll talk in their minds and ask for that external support. So maybe we are, whether it's through our thought processes or whether it's through our energy, perhaps we are putting those messages out there.
Well, so I knew my cat was dying. He was 16. He wasn't himself, but on this particular day, he crawled to the sofa, put his paw on me. I have photos, and he passed away cuddling me with his paw on my arm. He knew. But they say that, you know, I knew, and he breathed his last breath knowing he was loved and with his mammy. That was that long ago. But then, you know, people always, there's that old saying that people, when we pass, we know we're going to pass. Some people like to hang on for a certain person, or, you know, to say goodbye to them, and then they go, or some people just kind of go. But I believe that our relatives, friends, whatever, are still running about us, and it comes down to the Bapa, it comes down to the free will side of it. They won't intervene unless it's really, really necessary. Otherwise, because let's face it, if they're not intervened every time we had a problem, how would we ever learn?
Absolutely, and I think we do have to learn. I think we have to have choice and free will. And this is where I don't think spirit should be violating that. Like I said, I think they maybe come in times of crisis, but at other times with just day-to-day life, maybe they can offer us support and guidance, but we need to have free choice as to whether or not we follow that. So like I say, how do we learn if not?
And you said a couple of minutes ago, Debbie, you know, everybody's get a point in their life where they say to you, know, going to somebody help me.
Yeah.
But maybe, and you know, when they don't get that help, I know a lot of people say, well, it doesn't exist, you know, because I asked for help and it never happened. But who's to say that, you know, their plea for help hasn't been heard, but spirits don't, well, you know what, no, because you're not going to learn.
Be interfering with somebody's spiritual path or their growth path. It could be that actually if they interfere, it's going to alter the course of the future that could cause further problems for that person. There could be lots of different reasons. Or it could be that there has been an intervention and it's just not been recognised because it's not what the person wanted or expected. So when I had that car accident a few weeks ago, I'm taking that as a blessing. I'm taking that as something spiritual that happened, that intervened to help me get on the path, to help me learn the lessons I needed to learn and to recognise what I needed to recognise about myself. Somebody else might look at that and think, God, that was a terrible thing that happened. That's awful. Or why wasn't like your spirit guides or God or the angels looking out for you that day? So I think it comes down to perception, doesn't it? So we might be being helped, but it might not be in a way that we think we're being helped, or we might not know at the time. It might be that something gets put in front of us, like a Facebook post that just gives us a message that we need to hear that day, or we bump into a person that we haven't seen for years. I think that help and guidance can come in lots of forms.
It's interesting you say that. But Paul and I were talking about your car bump last night, actually. But it's interesting you say that you know, your car crash was a way for you to learn that, you know, various things. And years ago, I don't know if I've told you this, before the seatbelt law came in, I never ever wore a seatbelt. I used to drive trucks and vans, never wore a seatbelt. And because one of my friend's mums, she was killed in a car crash, and the reason she was killed is she couldn't get out of the car because the seatbelt jammed. And the car went on fire, basically. But there was one time I came out of Carlisle and I just parked up for my break, and just before I was pulling away, something kept telling me, put your belt on, put your belt on, put your belt on. And I never ever wore it, so I put my belt on, and I was about 40 miles from Glasgow that day in the motorway, and I was in a major car crash.
Gosh.
It was roadworks. It was a clear sunny day. You can see for miles this way, but there was a contraflow, and I was at the back of the queue, and I just stopped. I saw this wee Scottish water van duking up the hard shoulder. Seconds later, this white van ploughed into the back of me.
Gosh.
I was in a transit van, and it just totally destroyed the transit. There was another 5 or 6 cars all bang, bang, bang. But the police had said that the van hit me doing 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't my seatbelt on, I would have been through the windscreen.
Yeah.
And so people would say after it, why do you wear your belt? You never ever wear it. Because everybody used to pull me up for it. You know, you need to wear your belt. No. Mm-hmm. But then that taught me a lesson to wear my belt. Absolutely. And for that day on, I wore don't get me wrong, I still duke out sometimes, and you know, if you're going to shop or something, if it's just round the corner, it takes 2 seconds to do, but sometimes you can't even like doing it. Do you know what I mean? You're like that. But it taught me a lesson that day to start wearing a belt.
Yes.
So just what you were saying,
that you needed to wear that belt. So actually something was looking out for you out there, wasn't it? To tell you whether it was like precognition that your mind sort of had seen somehow into the future, or whether it was spirit coming in. You got that message.
I was just sitting there in my side, and it just kept the back of my head, you know, put your belt on. You need to put your belt on. I thought, yeah, I'll put my belt on. I think I actually spoke out loud and said, right, I'll put my belt on. You know, it was like somebody nagging you. You know,
it's interesting keeping it out loud, because it makes you think then that perhaps on some level you feel as an external observer.
Aye, exactly. It's still Robin. I was pregnant with my son. My mother was on holiday. My childhood dog Tara visited me. I clapped her top. Visited me. I clapped her top. Talked her. I can't read that comment. It's still wrong. When I was pregnant with my son, my mother was on holiday. My childhood dog Tara visited me. I clapped her, talked her, my mother, who was in Spain. Is that me? Or does that not make any sense? I'm
not understanding what that means. Is there another part to this message? Okay, so
Spain messaged me and asked, "Did you dream of Tara last night?" I said, "No, I saw her."
Okay, so they had a shared vision of her then, or a shared experience. Is that right?
Right. Sorry, Laura. I couldn't understand that wee bit. I talked to my mother, who was in Spain, messaged me and asked, "Did you?" So our mum had the same vision or same thing as Laura did. But so I mean, I think that spirit we go wherever, you know, into the light, whatever, at our own choice when we see fit to go, but we're always subconsciously aware the people we're left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And as your other half says there, about maybe we do give it a sort of spiritual SOS and spirit picks up on it and say, well, you know, Scott and Debbie's in trouble. I need to go and, you know, give me a wee kick up the butt or something like that. Or give him a wee nudge, a wee more polite. Give it give him a wee nudge and help. Because I think we've all been in a situation at one point or another where we can't see a way out, and then it just magically appears.
Yeah,
you know. But spirit is a wonderful thing, don't you think?
I think so. It's fascinating. All of this is fascinating. And I think we're never going to have definitive answers, and that makes it even more intriguing. But my whole life has been filled with different spiritual experiences, and I think it has enriched me and it's enriched my life.
So where do you think you'd be if you didn't have an interest in spirit?
Oh, gosh, that's really interesting, because I think my life's so much been guided by it, because I've always seen things since being tiny. And so many of my experiences throughout my life have been about spiritual phenomena and spirits. So I've got no idea. I think I'd be a worse person for it, because I think I've had a lot of lessons and learning and a lot of growth through that. I don't think maybe I wouldn't be as kind. Maybe I wouldn't be as forgiving or understanding. And I think life might be a lot more not dull, really. Maybe I'd be living more a 9 to 5, like get up, go to work, feed everybody, go to bed, start again. And it's not like that, because I get to take part in all of these fascinating experiences.
With people like yourselves.
Absolutely, yes.
You forgot to add that bit on at the end.
I apologise for that.
But it's an interest in the paranormal, and see, I've been fascinated with it for years. I've never really got into it. I've always had a sort of outside interest in it. It was a funny thing yesterday when Richard Chamberlain popped in. Oh, he passed away, didn't he? I said to Tommy, he's dead. I think Google tell him he was still here. Did he not pass away? I said to Tommy, he's dead. I think Googled him to learn he was still here, and it would be his birthday next day.
A next message.
Oh, right, there's a few hours later. Sorry, Eileen, I never put that.
That makes no sense now.
Actually, I was reading that. I'm sure I saw it on Facebook that he passed away. You couldn't be a muggle, right? I'm going Sarah and the wee one are big Harry Potter fans, and I've watched the films over and over. A muggle, don't follow me if I get this wrong, is just a normal person. Is that right?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yes, somebody that doesn't have like magical powers.
That right, be aye. So I think your other half's telling you could not be a muggle.
I think so as well. I think it'd be quite a miserable existence. My life is one drama after the next, but a lot of it is all to do with paranormal and spiritual experiences. So yeah, I think it'd be terribly dull without this sort of way of thinking and believing and interacting with the world.
And plus, just you said you wouldn't get to do as many wonderful things such as this. Paul actually said something similar last night when I was chatting to him about we'll talk about podcasting stuff with Laura's as well. And he says if you never started doing you're saying your life is colourful.
Yes.
As appears, Paul, sorry, it says that if you hadn't started doing podcasts, you wouldn't have met the amount of people that we actually meet through doing these.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've met a bucket full of people, but no doubt you've met a lot more than
absolutely.
You know,
I get to speak to people from different parts of the country and around the world with all sorts of different experiences and stories to tell. And every single person you speak to is absolutely fascinating. And I feel very privileged to be able to do that.
I must say, I love doing these shows, and don't get me wrong, we've had a couple of warmers. That's polite way of saying it on the shows. I've told you before, we've had a couple of, pineapple tree cases, basically. But that's the best way to describe them. But the 98% of people have all been fascinated, as you said, for all different parts of the world. And you sit and chat with them. Do you think that's a kind of, this is going to maybe sound stupid, a kind of spiritual calling sort of thing, that spirits actually guided you to do? It guided me, and to do shows like this.
I think so, because when it popped into my head that I needed to do a podcast, I'm quite embarrassed to admit this, I didn't actually know what a podcast was. I was very late into the whole thing. And it was really interesting because it popped into my head, it felt right. And also the people I needed to help facilitate that and make it possible had appeared in my life at that time. So there was somebody that appeared that could help me get it up and going. And they're not in my life now, but they came in to teach me the skills that I needed. And it just ended up happening. But it wasn't something I had thought about either through business strategy or wanting to do it as a hobby. It just came through that you need to do this. And I think it was in response to a lot of my community, a lot of the wellbeing community was struggling after lockdowns, after COVID. People were trying to get their businesses up and going again. And there was all these amazing people doing these wonderful things out there. And yet nobody knows about it. So it's how can I showcase that? But also there was lots of people suffering, lots of people struggling. So I was like, well, what can I do to get the message out there that there's all these different ways that you can be helped or viewing things differently? So it felt like it was my way, in a small way, to be able to give back to sort of the wellbeing community and people in general. And I get messages every week that people will send me and say, I'm really glad that you did that podcast. It was just the message I needed to hear. And I think that happens for me as well when I have people on and I sort of do the podcast editing. It's always the messages that I need to hear at that moment in time as well. And it's fascinating.
It is. I mean, you said you didn't know what a podcast. I was the same. I don't know. I still get mixed up between a vlog and a blog.
Yeah.
I've never
these things.
I've never got my head around that. The blogs and vlogs, whatever.
One writing, one video based.
But before I couldn't get my head around it. But what's the difference between a blog and a vlog? And but I'm just, as I say many times, I'm just tech thick. But I think these podcasts are a good way, as you say, of reaching out to people. Especially during the pandemic, because let's face it, everybody was locked in. We're not locked in, but thank you, young man. Because we'd never thought of doing these when we first started PI. Sarah and I started PI. We'd never thought of doing these, and it was when lockdown came. We'd only been running about a month or something like that, not long, and we'd only been out to Edinburgh a few times, and then lockdown came and thought, well, what can we do? I thought, well, why don't we try talk to people? And it just we'd never done it. And we'd watched other ones, so we'll give it a go. We might fall on his backside. And as I said to Laura was here today, as I said, our first 4 or 5 shows were down the toilet, basically. They were crap. I'll be honest, they were absolute bollocks. Excuse the French. Do you know what I mean? But we just decided to keep going. And it sounds big idiot. It's not meant to sound big idiot, but it just felt like we were meant to do it.
Yeah.
Because everybody I contacted wanted to come on. Now, whether that's just because, they were sitting at home bored stiff, and then this fat Glaswegian pops up and says, hey, you like to talk to me, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, even after lockdown finished, we've never had any bother finding guests. It makes it sound like I go hunting for them. Do you know what I mean? headhunting and whatever. And sometimes you do think, well, is that spirit telling us, helping us along that way?
Quite possibly,
As
yeah.
in, keep going because you're meeting all these people. I mean, we've learned a hell of a lot. No doubt you have as well. In some aspects, have learned, quite a bit if you just talk to people. It could be a wee silly thing or a big major thing, and so is that spirit kind of guiding us as well, keep going with your podcast, basically. Because it's what you're meant to do.
I live my life like that. It makes perfect sense because I live by this now, and it's why I'm doing my PhD, because I felt that it came in and I was guided to do it. And actually, I'm really grateful for that experience because I've met some really significant people that are going to play a big part in my future by doing that PhD, starting that process, as well as expanding my learning and growth. But there's countless examples throughout my life where something has come in and I've followed that feeling or that sense that I have to do it, and it's worked out. Like one of those a long time ago is when it popped into my head in the middle of the night that I needed to learn Reiki. I was asleep at night, popped into my head I needed to learn Reiki, woke up, heard that, did not know the voice, did not know what Reiki was or what it meant, but I bumped into my reflexologist a few days later and she told me it was a healing modality, and she thought I'd be good at it, and she set me up with the lady that was my Reiki master, Di. And that was the start of me becoming a therapist. I didn't know it at the time. I was a primary school teacher and I just did that for my own self, for something to do. But it started to change me. I started to heal emotionally and physically. And then I became fascinated in it. And I still just carried on doing it for a self-interest. But then the time came when it was time to change careers, and it set me on that path to being a therapist. So I think my whole life's been guided by that, and I think a lot of us are. It's just whether or not we choose to listen.
So you think maybe with you, I mean, the primary school teacher, that is a good sort of career, what have you. But do you think maybe Spirit was thinking, well, you're not destined to do this. This isn't, you're going down the wrong path. So I'm going to give you I'm going to plant that seed.
Yes.
I think, bang, there you go.
When you look back over the whole of my life, I think there's so many examples of that to where I am now. I think it's all been led, and it's been my free will and choice as to whether I followed that. But I think there's a lot more stuff I'm meant to be doing yet. I think, and I don't quite know what that is, and I have to trust. And that's what I'm learning at the moment, is I feel like, I don't know, I'm on the cusp of something else, that I'm meant to be going into this next phase or next transition, but I don't quite know what that looks like yet. But I've got to go with it because I feel like it is being guided by spirit or the universe or whatever you want to call it. And that has always saw me right.
If you feel, is what a gut feeling.
Yeah. And some people might call it a gut feeling. I think it's something external as well as something internal. But yeah.
It's with the old fork in the road scenario. Your head, your spirit, the spirit's telling you to take the right hand fork instead of the left, and you're going down the right hand fork, and it's the right one. Eileen's asking, do you believe in preordained future?
I think it's a mix. So I think there may be key events or key paths that we're meant to follow that we've maybe decided before we've come here, but I still think we have choice in it. So sometimes those choices might just mean we meander and get there in the end, but in a longer way round or a more tricky way round. Other times, maybe the choices that we make mean that we don't end up with that future. But I certainly think, looking back at my life, there's been key things that have happened I think were always meant to happen to get me where I am now. And I know we're never going to know that unless we could look at all versions of ourselves in all parallel universes to see what they're doing. But I think looking back sort of spiritually, when I was a child and when I was a teen, the experiences I had were quite extreme. But I think I had to happen because I think it was already being set up for what I do in adulthood now.
I mean, I think, I'm going to put this will make sense up here.
Yeah.
That will make sense to me. What we're doing, I mean, I'm a lot happier. I mean, I was a truck driver for years, and I was a chef, and what have you. But I'm actually happier doing this even though I don't do it's no a job,
Yeah.
I don't get paid for it. I'm actually happier doing this than I
Good.
was when I was working in the kitchen or driving, you know, a truck up and down the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you think to yourself, well, was that spirit, you know, saying, well, you're on the wrong path, you know, you're right, it's not a career, but this is, do this and this will make you happy, sort of thing. Am I making sense?
It is, and I think well done to you for following a path that makes you happy, because I think that's a really brave thing to do. I think a lot of us go through life and perhaps we know things would make us feel better or happier, or we could be more authentically ourselves, but we don't follow that because either society tells us we need to stick at our job, or we need to stay in the relationship that we've outgrown, or we need to do X, Y, and Z. So I think well done to you for making those changes and doing something that is making you happy. I think that's amazing, and I think that's really brave.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I still love driving. I do say Laura, that I still love driving, but I don't miss the driving and delivering and stuff like that. You know, it was all right for a certain amount of time, but I'm actually happier doing this. I say we it's not a career. It's no, we don't get paid for it or nothing, but I'm actually a lot happier doing this than I was, you know, and doing a full service in the kitchen and stuff like that. So was that spirit stepping in again, you know, not at the last minute, but stepping in and saying, look, get a wee nudge that way and keep going that direction. I might be talking a load of bollocks. I don't know, though. Who knows?
I don't think we're ever going to know, but all of our experiences are our own subjective reality, aren't they? We all perceive our reality in our own unique way. And so if those belief systems serve you and they're healthy for you, then that's wonderful. And I think along a similar line for me. So we're never going to necessarily know, but it serves me well to feel that way and to think that way.
And one thing we can be sure about is spirit will never give us a bum steer. You know, they'll never give us the wrong advice or the wrong arrow or whatever you want to call it. They'll always point us in the right direction. Whether we take that direction is entirely up to us. Let's face it, at the end of the day, that's all spirit can really do, is give you that nudge or a hint, whatever it might be.
Yes.
And again, as you were saying, Debbie, about free will, whether we take it or no, it's entirely up to us.
Yes.
But I think at the end of the day, a lot of people get the feeling they should take it because it feels right.
Absolutely. And I think you have to go on that. If anything comes into your mind, whether it's from spirit or whether it's your own thoughts or whether it's somebody, a friend or family that says something, I think we should always be thinking, does it feel right? What does my gut feeling say? What's my intuition? And I think in our society, we tend to overly logic things. We tend to overly cognitively process them in our minds. Whereas I think we should be thinking, how does it feel in my gut feeling? How does it feel in my heart? And then just do a double check with the thought processes afterwards. Because I think when we follow that intuition and when things come from a loving place as well, things tend to steer us on the right path.
Aye, and we end up going in the direction that we should. But I'm going to wind it up there, Doctor. I just noticed the time. But I'll hang on to you after we come off for a wee second or two. So a big thank you to this. Where can we find you, actually?
So I'm Debbie Ison of Tranquil Awakenings. So you can type Tranquil Awakenings into internet searches. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I have got a YouTube channel, which I sporadically post on. But yeah, I'm easy to find. I'm all over social media, all over the internet.
Pardon me. Basically, she's everywhere, folks, you know. But I say that I'll hang on to you. Thanks very much, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So that's it for tonight, folks. Big thanks to Dave. Big thanks to everybody who came in, put their comments in, etc. We're back. Great live thanks tomorrow.
Oh yes, what's the mystery for tomorrow? What's happening? What's Laura doing tomorrow?
Well, see, I've got to watch what I'm saying here because Debbie, she's on That's your other half advertising your YouTube channel. Check her out on YouTube, folks. I'm kind of sworn to secrecy, so I need to watch what I'm saying. I would plead the was it Americans say I'm going to plead the fifth on that, but I can't because I need to give you some kind of hint. Do you know what I mean? But I don't want to say too. It's all Laura's idea. She came up with the idea, and it's going to be her show. Tell you what, Laura, type in the comments what I'm allowed to say because I don't know. All I can say is it's Laura's show. It's on at 9 o'clock tomorrow night on YouTube, on her YouTube channel. She has done a lot of work on it. She'll be talking, not me, so that'll be a blessed break for many, many people. Well, last week, Paul said last night as well, you know, I could talk to a hedge. Basically, you know, he says he's the exact same. I'm waiting Laura to see if she puts something in there, what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say, because she's coming round tomorrow. So, you know, don't want to lose your old head, basically. But I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good. She's done a lot of research. It's happened. You ever been in that position where it's like a surprise party, but you're not allowed to tell somebody, but you're wanting to give them a wee hint.
So maybe you just say it's going to be a really interesting, really exciting surprise, and you've got to tune in tomorrow to find out. Maybe just leave it at that.
Aye, all right. Trust a woman to come up with that one. What she said. I don't know if Laura's going to comment or not. Yeah, that she's typing a novel. I don't know, Doc, because she's taking her time to type up. But what Debbie said, going to be. There we go. Yeah. Mystery. Delving into the mystery, the story, the theory. Delving into the mystery. The story, the theories. So it's what Laura and Debbie says. It's going to be good, it'll be spectacular, and it'll be mysterious.
Excellent.
And that's all I'm allowed to say. Under pain of death, as they used to say back in Tudor times, under pain of death. I've seen nothing else. So we're going to wind up there, folks. See, tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, we'll be back. Laura will be sitting here. I'll be sitting beside her saying absolutely diddly squat. And then I'm back on Thursday night with Sam Walks a Lot. We're going to be catching up on more of our walking trails, find out where she's been, what she's been. But you will be seeing this lady again as a double bill. All will be revealed. That's another mystery. You've got to have a mystery, you know, it's a secret, you know. Lots of women have secrets, so guys like to have the odd secret. I feel like it's a gift if the guys get a secret. You know what I mean? I've got a secret, I'm not telling you. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, right? I'm going to go because I'm starting to give her on to all the practice crap, basically. So, big thanks to Dave. She's over there. She's in her kitchen. She's in there. And we'll see you tomorrow night with our lovely Laura and her show. Night, folks. Take care. Bye. Bye.